see what I see?
I see a beautiful hamburger.
I bet it's a clue.
Yeah, I bet.
We'd better memorize it.
I don't think we'll have to memorize it. The hamburger's winning.
Boy, my mouth's watering. Let's go.
Come on, boys and gals. Let's have a barbecue.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday!
What's going on here? Oh, sir, I'm arrested. Oh.
Wacky fun.
Wacky fun.
Hail, everybody. We made it. Yes, we had a little bit of an opening fail. Sorry about that. We're learning. I'm learning.
My favorite part is pushing the cat off.
So. Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy
it's
Sunday.
Good Sunday. It's been a good day here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day out here in Colorado, too. Most days are.
It's gorgeous.
I'm not trying to brag.
Well, it's Hotlanta season down here already. So
Hotlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah, we had quite a good day today. It's been busy. Went to church. We had a fun class we're doing to try to get more plugged in where we're at now. So that was nice.
Nice.
Good day.
Very nice.
Good times.
Good.
Happy times.
Good times.
Nice. So, today we're going to catch up on the testimony thing we were doing that we didn't quite get to finish due to technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was talking a little bit last week about stuff, and I was thinking about that today.
Yeah,
it's a good day to think about it.
It is. Did Luke freeze again? Every time we bring up testimonies, this is spiritual attack.
We should have anointed our computers with oil first.
Oh man, I forgot to do that. So many things I gotta learn on YouTube. I guess we could. I don't know. Should we recap yours first, CJ, or recap mine?
Well, I didn't give mine yet, but mine's boring. So
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Did I tell you I know a guy who was in the Colombian drug cartel who said it's good to have a boring testimony because his was like the most insane one you'd ever hear.
I don't think I remember the Colombian drug part of it.
Oh, yeah, this is crazy. Go ahead, tell us your boring testimony.
Sure. So I grew up in church, and when I was 7 years old, I went to Vacation Bible School and prayed the sinner's prayer. And I didn't leave the church a whole lot after that. And if I did leave, it was for like a couple weeks at a time, and I came back. So I will say, though, it's still one of my favorite memories because when I prayed the sinner's prayer and I was in Vacation Bible School, we were learning about different missionaries, and we were learning about Hudson Taylor, and he's like the missionary he was from Britain who went to the Chinese, and he would dye his hair and he would braid his hair in the queue, and he'd wear their clothes, and he learned the language, and he got a lot of flack from his other fellow missionary friends for like adopting the customs and everything of the Chinese. And I really like this because I remember thinking, even at 7, well, that's what Jesus did for us. He put on human flesh, and he learned our language, and he dressed like us, and he worked like us, and and so I was like, yes. So I was a smart 7-year-old. And then the second thing I really like about the story is that when I prayed the prayer, I felt the Holy Spirit come into my heart, and I know it was the Holy Spirit because I prayed the sinner's prayer again, and nothing happened that time, because he's already in there. So he didn't go out the back door of my heart and come back in the front.
It's like he's already there.
Yes, and that's kind of like what the feeling was. It's like, oh, he's already in there. So, I consider it like the first time that God spoke to me. So I've only heard his voice a few times, but I always heard it. I always heard it when I needed to hear it. So that's kind of, yep. So 7 years old, and here we are 25 years later.
So how'd you get into writing then?
I started writing a lot in like lieu of therapy, and but also because I didn't have a lot of friends. I was really shy, you know. I still am. You know, it's nice that you can kind of make friends with people who are like-minded a little bit easier. Back in the 90s, it was hard because you had your neighbors, and you had church and you had school, and if you didn't get along with some of those people, you know, or you just weren't very good at socializing, you didn't make a lot of friends. So I would watch a lot of TV, and I pretended those people were my friends. So, and then I eventually wrote my own stories. So and now I have lots of friends and brain children and stuff. It's nice that I've learned how to socialize a little bit better too. So I do have actual friends too now.
That sounds a little bit like Michael Scott in that episode where he's like, where they're watching him on like the video of when he was a little kid. And he said he wanted to have 100 kids, so he had 100 friends, and none of his friends could ever leave him. And like everyone had that like awkward look on their face.
I don't like that episode. It's very painfully accurate on some level.
Ouch.
Yep. So
that's most of my day. I quote The Office or reference The Office most of the day.
If you can stick a Bible verse in a quote from The Office, I think more people would pay attention anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it is. Reference scripture, reference The Office. But we're in a little Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec
South Park
aged poorly. It aged so poorly.
Yeah.
How would you say it's aged poorly?
The Venezuela episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was that guy from Venezuela?
No, he's not in real life. No, he's not.
Well, I know that.
And then there's that episode too, and towards the end of the series where, what's his face? Her husband, the polar lady's husband, Ben. Yes, Ben goes and he does the cooking show with the calzone pie, and then they have this whole issue of like men's rights comes up, and I'm like, that's aged poorly.
Yeah.
I don't remember that episode.
You know what's funny? They make fun of those things, right? And then it comes real. It comes true.
Yep. So
this world is weird.
I thought it was interesting. Like their representation of the right was a libertarian. They wouldn't have like a religious conservative on like your typical conservative. They had to have like the minority conservatives or the minority of the right.
Yeah. Well, you know, the bars moved, you know, the meter has moved, that bracket.
Yeah, the Overton window.
I was a liberal at one point.
Oh, yeah?
You know, and now I'm right-wing conservative.
Yeah, I used to be more of a libertarian. I was pretty hardcore, like Rand Paul type.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I kind of still am, but...
Not Rand Paul, sorry, his dad, Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
That's okay.
More libertarian of the Pauls.
I'm a right-leaning monarchist at this point.
Right, yeah. That's not where I started. It's not where I think I am, but that's where they put me.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was Winston Churchill. I heard it in school. Someone famous said it. It was like, if you're not liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not conservative when you're old, you don't have a brain.
It's not wrong.
Well,
people tend to get more conservative as they age.
Well, that's because they survive more and they have more realistic estimates for how to react to things, if that makes sense.
Right. They get it. They understand what life is.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they're young, they worry they won't be able to achieve certain things, and then by the time they're a little bit older, they realize, oh yeah, that's actually pretty easy. If I just do X, I'll get this and stuff. So, you know, like a good example for this with me was health insurance. It's like, oh, how am I going to pay like $600 a month for health insurance.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, you get a job and your job pays for it. Or you don't have health insurance and
Yeah.
you can go on Medicaid.
It's really easy to support socialism when you're living at home.
Yes.
You know, I think when you start living on your own and you've got a family and you're paying bills, it's not so easy to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my
That's-
thought.
Yeah. I will say too, like, I was once a feminist, like a hardcore one, and I really appreciate my husband now because he's healed a lot of the softer wounds that kind of sink into your heart. So when you're young, and,
I would say I'm like a third wave feminist.
I say I'm
Like
feminist.
I'm a little
1.5,
feminist.
So
Yeah, like I believe in women's rights, and you know, I've got a wife and a daughter that I want to advocate for.
Mhm.
But I can't. I'm not one of these new weird like feminist, like the pink hat wearing feminist. I'm not one of those.
Feminists has come full circle. They're like promoting men now as feminism.
Right?
Oh, well,
Yeah. I mean, they've really.
yeah, I mean, like in today's world, you
proud
kind
of
of
them.
have to tell people what kind of Christian you are, and then and the same thing with feminism. Oh, I'm a feminist. What kind? Oh,
Right.
I just
there's a qualifier there.
Yeah.
I really hate the qualifiers. Like I don't buy into the qualifiers, especially when it comes to Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, on some
Which
level,
was
that's why I like being a writer too. Is like you understand that people aren't meant to stay where they're at necessarily. So
yeah.
I do believe that if you find the right answer, like if you find out that 2 + 2 = 4, you don't have to spend the rest of your life proving that it doesn't equal 5 or 2 or 6. You know, but
Yeah, it's silly, right? But,
yeah.
But now
reminds-
2 + 2 is a white supremacist construct or whatever.
Well,
I
they'll
saw that
appreciate
on
the
the internet. I'm
constructs
like,
more
I
when
didn't
they
know that.
have a lot of anti-capitalists building buildings and they need proper stats. So,
Right? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of need math to build things. So.
yeah, it's important. I mean, you might want it, you know.
Reminds me of
Well,
like the Enneagram not staying like where you're at and growing. I don't know. Enneagram's kind of controversial in Christian circles too.
It is.
But
yeah.
probably because of the shape.
Yeah, the shape is a little
Well, the
fishy.
shape and where it
Thumbs
came
up with
from.
that shape.
It's not only that; it's where it came from. You know.
Okay.
So did it come from Greece? That's all I know about it.
No, it's got a paganist background.
Does it?
Came from paganism,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure there's most of those personality tests are paid. I mean,
Most
even
of it
the
comes from that, yeah.
Jung was an atheist. So
Yeah, Jung. So was Freud.
mm-hmm.
They were into weird stuff.
I will
Yeah.
say, like, when I was a teacher, we taught a lesson on advertising, and there are particular, like there are advertising companies that they look at your age and your demographics, and they figure out how to best market to you, which is why I'm kind of having extra fun with all the woke stuff that's going on. It's like this isn't actually how you this isn't actually how you like market to somebody and expect to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. Yeah.
John's
It was-
taking
I mean,
refuge.
Like they've been doing this for like 20 years and stuff, and it's like, yeah, you just threw all that out the window for a fad.
yeah.
Good luck.
Right. Was it
John-
Fisher, the psychologist, who went into advertising? And basically, he's the one who started putting sex in advertising in the 20s.
Was that
Well,
Kinsey?
it worked.
Yeah. No, it
It
wasn't
worked,
Kinsey.
yeah.
Kinsey was the weirdo who did experiments on kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So John's taking refuge here while Twitter blows up. My Twitter was
Twitter
going
is-
nuts today.
Twitter
Well,
is a
give us some
nuclear
questions,
hellscape.
John. So, give us some
Yeah.
questions and we'll answer
Like a
them. So,
cinephile. If there were a list of assigned behaviors and traits, I don't even want to read the list to see what's on. I'll make my own list of behaviors and traits. There you go. Talk about being your
Oh.
own man.
Yeah.
No, today was it was fun. So I believe, and this is what I was going to say when I don't know why I dropped earlier. It was weird. craziest thing. I believe that God puts people in certain places that most modern Christians don't believe they should be. And I believe that
That's a great
the
point.
arts is one of those things. I remember back, if you look at some of the great arts, some of the Renaissance and things like that, all of that art was for and around the church and for God, an offering to God. And it was, I mean, some of the best examples of art in literature and music, of creativity, came from an expression of worship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even like in the organization that I'm part of, the Church of God Anderson, like our history is writing music and writing literature and things like that. For instance, I don't know if you are familiar with who Bill Gaither is, but the Gaither Vocal Band. They, that whole movement and all that was kind of out of this Church of God Anderson that that we're part of. And
Cool.
I see
I've
that.
seen them perform.
Have you? They're really good. It's not really my thing, Well, at least it wasn't then. But I'm older now, so I like a lot more than I used to.
Yeah.
But I was looking at kind of the state of where things have gone, and it really feels like music and art and stuff has been taken over by people that either don't have faith or actively despise the Christian faith. And I believe that God is bringing people back in, and I see that. When I woke up I talked about my nap last week, when I was asleep for a while. When I came back, I think what was interesting is that I really thought, okay, I'm coming back. God's going to use me. There's a reason why I'm back. Fine. I thought it was going to be the church. And after a few months of seeing where the church was at, I sat down with my elders. And they said, Luke, we really do believe that God's got a big plan for you, but we don't believe it's this church. We think this church is done. And I said, you know what? I was afraid to say it, but I agree. And so a lot of people thought that I had a crisis of faith when I left the ministry to go draw comic books, Wow. And I was like, well, I kind of wanted to be out of leadership in that sense, because the politics of the church, I tweeted about it. It's very difficult sometimes. We've heard the phrase, you can't see the forest through the trees, right? You get caught up on the little things. You can't see the big picture. Well, the problem is my heart is really on the individual and having compassion for them. But when you see the collective group and how ugly and nasty they can be as a group, when you see those problems, when you see the politics of a church group and you see those things pop out, you lose compassion for the individuals. And so I couldn't see the trees through the forest was kind of the situation I was running into. And so I really was glad to kind of get away from that. But I believe that
you can kind of make your own path now.
Yeah. And I kind of think that God wanted me here because he's bringing other people there. And there needs to be pastors that have gone through the trenches of ministry that are prepared to kind of be that spot there, to kind of be kind of the unofficial pastors for the people that come into this realm, this geek world, games, literature, comics, art, animation. When they come into this area, they need encouragement. They need somebody to cheer them on. Say, look, you're doing what you're called to do. It doesn't matter if so-and-so is. The thing is, we're going to get heat from people that think that what we do isn't holy enough. And then we're going to get heat from people that don't like the fact that we're Christians in this space. And so they're going to try to twist your words and twist your intent. They're going to try to kind of come at you and cancel you. We see them do this with Chris Pratt all the time. And I saw him in an interview, and the lady that was interviewing him asked him, said, you get a lot of she said, you get a lot of shit for being a Christian. And he goes, he kind of chuckled, and he goes, yeah. And his response to her line of questioning was, it's nothing new. It's, they've been doing it for like 2,000 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if they did it to him, they'll do it to me. And then he quoted the scripture, things like John something. And, and he's,
oh yeah, the Twitter people
16 through 18 or whatever.
Yeah, the Twitter people took it like the worst way possible too, because they were saying, "Oh, he's likening himself to Jesus now."
Yeah, no, that's not what he's doing at all. Well, honestly, Paul did too. I mean, Paul said, "Follow me, because my ways are Christ's ways."
Yeah,
I mean, that's really what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to try to follow so closely in Christ's steps that others can follow our example. And we're not always good at it. We always mess up.
There's a lot of growing pains for sure.
Yeah, so. I like to say, instead of saying we're not always good, I say we're always not good. We just can't get it right, but we try really, really hard, to bring this thing together. And so, as I was thinking about where God brought me from, being saved at 12 years old, getting my friends saved, inviting them to church, wanting to do comic books, leaving that idea behind to do music, and then leaving music, Christian music, to do full-time ministry, and now leaving full-time ministry to go back to doing what I wanted to do when I was 14, comic books. It seemed weird. And like I said, people were like, Luke, you have a crisis of faith? I'm like, no, my faith is stronger as it's ever been. I said, I have a crisis of religious piety and hypocrisy like that.
Maybe I have like direction.
Yeah. I'm like, I just don't know where God is going to end me up. But the more I do this, the more I realize that really this is where we need to be. Like, if we think about the mission field, like, what do? We send out people all the time into places that are desperate for the gospel. Well, where else is desperate for the gospel but Hollywood and literature and mainstream comics and animation? I mean, think about it. All of our entertainment is desperate for the influence of the gospel.
Yeah.
Even a little bit of morality, like even the tiniest bit, any kind of infusion of biblical Christian morals, which, if you look at the Bible, has been the basis of morality for the last, 2,000 years, since we started getting pieces of it from the Torah to the New Testament.
Yeah, if you want to be specific, it was put together in 1611.
It was exactly. Yeah, but well, I don't really count the King James Bible.
Well,
I count before that.
I know the Geneva Bible was before that.
So. Yeah,
when was Nicene
we're talking about,
or Nicene Council?
Yeah, the Council of Nicaea when they settled on the
around the time of Constantine, right?
Yeah, when they settled on the 66 books in canon. Now, the thing is, it wasn't like they got together and they just picked them. I mean, these were the books that people were already using.
St. Nicholas punched somebody in the face.
Yeah, I mean, they had already been using these 66 books up to this point, Right. There were a few other books that they used, but this was when they finally said, you know what, this is what we agree is this is the core that we all know we can teach from. And that's when they compiled them together into a single library.
Right.
But we had been using those 66 books way before that even happened, That was almost like a, just a ceremonious kind of, let's just put it together kind of thing. I mean, every person that was preaching and evangelizing already had those 66 books in their house. If they, probably some of them hidden, but they had those books, they were using them. That's how they, they were being reproduced and all of that, and
it was really just, it was like an official saying of like, what basically like William Lane Craig. No, it wasn't William Lane Craig. I think it was him maybe who said it was basically like a bunch of people getting together and agreeing that Beethoven was good at like good composer.
Yeah,
Well, I
is
mean,
that
they
Everyone
looked
knew.
at like the reliability and the authority and stuff too, like that came with it. So it was like a kind of a, it was a very nice ceremony. I'll give it that.
And they were also
Like you
saying
just
like,
don't, yeah, you don't
Like
get
what-
together with a bunch of people and agree that Beethoven is good without talking about like the technical quality.
yeah,
And,
the why
Right.
is it so good?
right. And they knew
Um,
what was outrageous. Like what was it, the Gospel of Thomas that had like a talking cross in it?
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, Thomas, they're like, look, we're not using that. Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. When you've got 4 gospels from people that were very close to Jesus, and they all say very similar things from different
Right.
points of view, and then you
Mhm.
get Thomas that throws it in there and like contradicts everybody.
Right.
You're like, yeah, I don't think so, Thomas.
Yeah.
You know, he's
well,
like,
they did like a really good literary analysis of it too, like in terms of like legendary, like words aren't in the Gospels and stuff. Like it's all
Right.
like relative and stuff.
it really is. And then I love like this thing that Jordan Peterson shows. This it has little lines from one verse where the Bible cross references itself,
Mhm.
and it's insane. He goes,
Yeah.
"There's no way that this is accidental. This is only done by a massive plan that goes into place to do this." And that's the beauty of it is the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. God breathed it through, but he let the voice of the writer come through as well in those things.
Mhm.
And I think that God wants to do that right now in the arts and in entertainment. He wants the Holy Spirit to breathe through us. He wants to breathe through us, but then allow our voice and the unique imprint of our creation to come through. And my daughter was asking about this whole idea of like creating things. I said, well, you realize why people want to craft, why they want to build, why they want to cook, why they want to make things out of nothing. Like every person seems to have like this innate desire to make something out of nothing,
Yeah.
like I made this meal. I made this picture. I wrote this story. I made this music. I grew a garden. I did it. They just want to produce good things. And I said, that's the heart of our Creator in us. That is his core personality trait. He loves to build. He loves to make. And so when you allow yourself to make art, to make stories, you are just living out something that he breathed into you. It's that trait from the Father that we can't get rid of, and I believe he wants to take back the arts. And I think that we're a part of that. I think that us 3 here are a part of that. We're stepping into territory that and I was told that it's no place for a Christian. It's definitely no place for a pastor. And I told him, look, you have no idea what you're talking about. I said, with all due respect, and God love you because I'm having a hard time doing it. You're wrong.
Well.
You're absolutely wrong. This is where we should be. We should be here sharing our heart and our testimony and sharing the good things, and not just being here and slapping a cross on it like we talked about last week with these really lame attempts of Christian propaganda. But to really be excellent. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel is the epitome of excellence, and he gave up his vision for it. I mean, what are we willing to give up to give our absolute excellence to God?
Yeah.
Like what he did there. It doesn't matter if he was gay. Like a lot of people say, they're like, oh, well, he was gay. I don't care. God loves him.
Who cares?
He obviously loved God. He gave up his eyesight to do the best thing that he could ever do on the ceiling of a chapel.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And now we have churches that are in storefronts.
Right. Yeah.
I do think that it does kind of reflect the business model too, and how churches have tried to acclimate to the culture that they're in rather than change it themselves.
Right.
So
true, and we're supposed to be the counterculture.
Hmm.
You know, we're not supposed to reflect the culture. I mean, if we
Yeah.
look
I
at now
think
at our culture, it's broken, and who really wants to be in this?
Hmm.
I
I
think we're
don't.
supposed to like re-Christianize it in many ways, if that doesn't sound weird. So like
That
we need to
doesn't
baptize it.
sound weird. No, yeah,
It
we
is an
need to.
opportunity to share the gospel. I mean, the church historically has spread in times of oppression,
It
not in
really
times
has.
where the church was the majority
Oh, you know, it's
and
like
comfortable.
you're absolutely right. There's this thing I used to tell people that, you know, life happens in the valley, not the mountaintop.
Mm,
If you've ever climbed a mountain, it is cold and dead up at the top.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
Mhm.
Hmm.
beautiful, but you can barely breathe and there's no life. The hardest
Hmm.
place to get through is the valley, but it is teeming with life. It's where the water's at, the vegetation, every kind of animal goes there.
Hmm.
Mountaintops are fun experiences. It's fun to get up there and check out the view every once in a while. But if you really want to experience life, it's down in the trenches where it's a little more difficult, where things are
Oh, yeah.
happening and it's
Yeah.
dirty. And I think you're right. I think he's bringing us up and calling people with faith and devotion to him to come in and share his love with other people that do the same thing
Hmm.
that we do, but then to also kind of bring back that like jewel of worship in what we do.
Hmm.
Like you said, Christiany it again, Christianize it again or
Christianize
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Luke,
Yeah.
you mentioned you were saved when you were 12.
Hmm.
What was that like? A typical like Bible camp sort of thing, or how would you say
Uh,
that happened?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it was.
yeah. So I went to church camp,
Hmm.
and I wasn't taking it real serious.
Hmm.
But I went. We went to one of those. One of the nights. This. I believe it was it might have been a lady that got up and spoke,
Okay.
and they were talking, and I can't remember a word they said.
Hmm.
Well, two things happened. So first off, I was invited to church
Yeah.
by this guy. So I got a phone call on a Sunday morning, and my mom and dad were asleep, and I was just watching TV and drawing actually. And this
Hmm.
guy calls. His name's Ron Foster, and he says, "Hey, Luke, this is brother Ronnie." They always call each other brother and sister at that church because this is brother
Hmm.
Ronnie from the church. I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know who he was. He goes, "Hey, I was wanting to know if you wanted to go to church this morning." Um, no, first he goes, are you doing anything? And I said, no. If someone from the church ever calls and asks you if you're doing something, say you're busy. Plain simple.
Hmm.
Busy, right? Otherwise,
Hmm.
you're about to go do something. So I said, no, I'm not doing anything. He's like, you want to go to church? I'll pick you up. I'm like, oh, well, let me ask mom and dad. So I poked my head in. Mom and dad are still asleep, right? I
Uh-huh.
said, Mom, Dad, brother Ronnie called from the church to go, oh, yeah, that's Gary's brother. And I said, he wants to know if I want to go to church. He'll pick me
Hmm.
up. They go, yeah, it's fine. Just whatever. Just shut the door. Yeah, they were sleeping. And so he was like, all right, I'm already outside. I'll give you 10 minutes to get dressed. So I
Uh-huh.
threw on a pair of jeans and some rock band t-shirt that I had on,
Uh-huh.
or something like that. Might have been, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, so I go in there and go to church and I don't fit in. Everybody else is dressed nice and they're kind of looking at me weird. But
Hmm.
man, I sit down on that pew up there in the front with the rest of the youth. And I don't really like the music, but they played this song, It Is Well.
Uh-huh.
And
I like that song.
the words got me, man. Like it
It's a
hit me.
powerful song.
And there was like I felt like there was like I knew that there was something missing in my life. I wasn't sure
Hmm.
what it was. When you're 12, you're getting ready to start getting into that. Like I don't know who I'm going to be, but I felt like there was entertain me, Luke. Entertain me. There's this thing in your kind of in your chest that's missing. And I felt that. And while they were playing, I know I didn't fit in there with them, But whatever that was coming from the platform fit in me. And I'm like, I don't fit in, but this fits in me. It was a weird feeling. So I mean, it was almost kind of deep for a 12-year-old to think this, right?
Yeah.
But I knew what it was, and so I kept going to church. I didn't fit in, and that was fine. I just kept going to church, and it was towards the beginning of summer, and there was a church camp, and they said if you want to go, we'll sponsor you. We'll pay for you to go. And so I was like, Mom and Dad were like, that's fine, yeah. And so Mom and Dad actually started going back to church because I was going to church every Sunday. So I was like, no, I want to go. They're, really? You want to go? I'm like, yeah, I just want to go. So Mom had grown up in the church and hadn't been for years. And so they just started going to church with me, taking me instead of having Ronnie pick me up. And so then that summer I went to church camp. Like I said, I'm sitting there, I'm kind of halfway back in this big room, and it's hot. You have this big fan blowing. It's like a big 10 pole barn thing, whatever. This is country.
Yeah.
And they're up there saying stuff, and I am sitting on the edge of my seat, and I'm not hearing a word they're saying because there's something rumbling, like in my gut, and not like the tacos I had, like something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kept thinking, I don't know what's going on. Like, what is this? And they gave an altar call, and there was like, there's no way in hell I'm going up there. And as I'm saying in my head, there's no way in hell I'm going up there. I'm walking up there, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is, but I couldn't. I noticed my pace like picked up from a walk to a run, and then I sprinted from the near back of this building all the way up to the front, went in like a baseball slide on my knees right to that altar, tore my jeans up, not a big deal, and just like
street cred.
And just bam, just like hit that altar, and
baseball slid.
Yeah, just like, I gotta have this. I gotta have it. And that's when I got saved. I went back, I got baptized, and I've never left it since. It's like I've never left that faith. I've left the church, but I never left the faith, you know? But yeah, then I eventually, like at one point I was so angry with the church and politics. We went to this church I was serving, and it was just not right. It was my first look behind the curtain, and it was bad. And I was like, I don't like this. In fact, I said, if these people are going to heaven, I'd rather spend my eternity in hell.
Wow.
And I left church and just like, I'd pray, read my Bible, stuff like that. But man, I wasn't having anything to do with them. And then finally, I remember one day I was praying. I was in my little room praying. And God said, I'm really angry with you. And I was like, whoa, why? He goes, you're really hard on my bride.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, she's a hoe.
He's like, I know.
Yeah. He's like, well, he goes, I understand that. He goes, look, you are so quick to point out all of the problems within the church. Well, why don't you go in and help them fix it? If you see it, fix it. See a problem, fix a problem. And I struggled with that for weeks and weeks. And finally I was like, okay. So I got invited. My wife had been going to another church. Like, we decided we were going to go to a big church. And so we would go to this big church occasionally. And then I got a job where I was busy. And so I just kind of scheduled myself to work on Sundays because I was the boss and we needed me there. We needed me there. I thought we didn't really need me there, but it was better than going to church because I still had this like, okay, I'll go to church. I just don't like this though. And then my wife started going to church with a friend, and we went to this state, like this 4-H fair, and I sat down at this booth, and this guy came up and talked to me, and I really liked him, and he was the pastor of that church. That next Sunday we went to that church, and I never left that church. until I got a job at another church. I wound up being my first time on staff at a church was at that place.
Mhm.
And whenever I think of what a healthy church should look like, I remember that church because that was beautiful, like what that was. And so, yeah, that was kind of what started me on my path. And I wound up leaving music. I traveled and sang and played, and we did that and had an opportunity to open up for the big moment. It was like do or die. We were getting ready to go on tour with Mercy Me. You know, Mercy Me has
Oh, wow.
an opener band, and then they
Wow.
have that other band that opens for the opener that warms up
Mhm.
while those people are walking in. We had a chance to be that band. We had a brand new manager. They'd already offered that spot for their tour to somebody else, but they had not responded on whether they were going or not. So our new manager gave the demo to their manager, and they listened to it. I guess the band listened to it, loved it, and they were going to have us. The invitation was sent to us that if the other band doesn't take it by 10 p.m. Friday, then the spot is ours, and we have to be in Orlando, Florida by Sunday morning because that's when because Sunday afternoon was the first stop on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're waiting. I remember sitting on the porch waiting for a phone call on that Friday night. And I'm talking to my wife and realizing how tough touring was going to be on our family.
Mhm.
And I said, well, if it's God's will that this is what we do, then we'll figure it out. But we'll know because the offer comes to us. If it's not, I'm leaving the band and I'm going to go find a job doing youth ministry vocationally. I know that's what I'm called to do, so that's where I'm going to go. And at 10 after 10, I get a phone call from my drummer, who was the main contact for our manager. And he said the other band took it. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, then let's go ahead and get together on Monday for practice. I'd like to have a meeting beforehand. And that's when I told him I was done, that I was going to go into vocational ministry. And then I tried and wound up, realized I wasn't really qualified for youth ministry, even though I'd been doing it. I didn't have any education. So I thought I was just going to do music. So I went around using music because I was good. I mean, I used to be humble about it, but screw that. I can't do it anymore. I can't play. I can't sing. I was good. And I was a really good songwriter too. I was really gifted in those areas. In fact, I was so gifted, I made it look easy. Like it looked just effortless when I did it. And
That's how you know you're real masters. You just make it look effortless.
I did not practice
Yeah.
for Sunday morning. I did not practice. I could play with click tracks and everything. I could pick up my instrument without even, because I knew the song so well. I knew music theory. I was versed in what I was playing. I could literally pick up an instrument and play with a band on the spot. And so I didn't practice on Sunday morning because those worship songs are so easy. I didn't need to practice for Sunday morning. So I would have band members. I'm like, look, you need to practice. I go, I know you don't see me practice, but you don't have 20 some years behind you of 8 hours a day, 8 to 12 hours a day of practice to not be able to practice now. You have to practice now. I'm not going to practice because I'm busy. I'll come in and I'll be perfect on Sunday. You won't. So you have to practice. And I said, if I come in and I mess up on Sunday, I'll start practicing again. But if I come in and I'm perfect, I'm not going to practice. And so we were kind of had that deal going. And I remember one Sunday I made a mistake, and my drummer looked at me and he smiled. He goes, I'll see you on Thursday. I said, I'll see you on Thursday.
Wait for that one.
Yeah. And so I was like, that was pretty funny. But I was good at it. I mean, I was just so easy and so smooth at it. And I took it for granted. I took for granted that I was able to do that. I can't do that anymore. So now I don't have to be humble about it anymore. I can brag about it.
Yeah.
That's okay. I feel like if people met me before I had kids, I would have sounded so much smarter.
Kids, like, they dumb you down. Like my wife is really brilliant. My wife is brilliant. There's days when she's so tired, she can I can't even think. Like, I get it. I totally get it. And
Always, guys.
Well, like I will like look at something and I'll know the word for it, and I'll move my hands to like make the shape of it and
Yeah.
to try to get me to like say it, and I can't say it for something, but
Well,
I know what it is.
You're pulling out
So-
dates for the Council of Nicaea. Like I'm like, yeah, I can tell you what they were doing at the time. I can't tell you what day it was.
Imagine
I
how
don't know
smart she
that
was
stuff.
before.
Right?
I
I'm
know
like, yeah.
that's the thing. Is like you
It's like,
might
I'm
as
not-
well be really
I'm not
proud
dropping
of
any
yourself
of that
because-
knowledge on anybody.
Yeah. Well, it was the other day. I was at a coffee shop with my daughter, and I was like, cinnamon bun. That's all I had to say. She wants one of those things, those roundy things with the icing on top.
Don't feel bad. I can't remember anything now.
It's like roundy things.
Yeah, the round things. They're delicious.
Yeah, but I look at my daughter and she's like, "Come on, mom," and I'm like, "Just tell her." So my kids have figured out that this happens sometimes. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of said all that because I believe that God brought me all the way through that to be here right now.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
mean-
yeah,
I mean, that.
Well, I like your stories. Clearly, I don't interrupt you. So
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible story, and I'm just sitting here like thinking of the parallels. Like, we have a lot in common, and we barely scratched the surface on all that we have in common so far.
I think over the next several weeks we'll be able to do that. And you guys are very interesting.
Thank you.
It is. I don't believe in coincidence. I never have. I believe in kind of like God moments and stuff. You know, so I've there's no doubt, what God is doing kind of behind the scenes with things these days. And just like the heat that you've gotten, RJ, this week for taking a stance on, this is the brand and the programming that I want to do on my channel. I mean, you got 11 subs, and hopefully we can get more.
Yeah.
Guys, go over to RJ's channel. What's the name of your channel?
Just RJ William.
Yeah, look for RJ William and sub this guy because he's only got 11, and we'd like to get some more. But you're practicing.
Thanks so much, guys.
You gotta learn all this, right?
Yeah, I
Press
mean,
that like button.
I am a newbie. I am a rookie in this game.
Yeah.
It's like being a rookie firefighter all over again.
Yeah, and you offered to help someone out because you've got a heart to like, let me promote you, but then you're like in this situation where I know what brand I want my channel, my brand to be, and so I'm not ready to promote your stuff. I don't think you're ready for me to promote your stuff.
Yeah,
and
it was best for all parties. Absolutely.
Yeah, say, look, and you gave like more than 48 hours notice, right?
Yeah.
And now I've had people cancel on me like 15 minutes before a show without explanation. Say, hey, we're just not going on. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's not fine really inside. I'm
right.
Really
There's a
upset about it.
downside to Zoom. I wish you could like get an app that will just let you slap people through the screen. I
Exactly.
would be upset.
There you go. Yeah,
So-
but sometimes you don't get a courtesy. Sometimes you just get ghosted. You never get a link, and you see them streaming with someone else. And so you gave them more than 48 hours notice. You gave them an explanation, and you gave them some of your opinions, which you didn't
I
have
tried
to
to be
do.
nice
That was a
about it.
courtesy. Yeah. You were
I thought
nice
it was
about it.
polite.
The only reason why I know what you said is because they got in my DMs
Yeah.
trying to make me mad at you.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, first off, it's none of my business. So if you need to talk with them, you need to message them instead of hiding behind a block. That's not professional.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so you're kind of getting a lot of heat for this. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I was like, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but guys, he's only got 11 subs. I mean, it's not like you got a chance to be on with like like we've got 4 people watching live right now from all of our channels, right?
And we're very grateful for the 4 people.
We're-
that
We love all
love
4
you.
of you. We love all 4 of you deeply. We really do. We're so happy that you're with us and hanging out with us right now. But honestly, it's like, guys, it's not like we got 120 people active
Right.
in the chats that are going to back your book tonight.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even the format of what you decided to go with. It's more conversational and storytelling, and
Mhm.
not shilling. Look,
Right.
CJ's got a
There's a
book.
place for shilling.
Yeah, CJ's
But
got
it's
a
at the
book.
end after everybody else leaves.
Exactly. Yeah, CJ's got a book that probably isn't going to. It's not getting the traction it needs. It's getting buried in all of the other stuff on Kickstarter right now. Not getting the
Yeah.
eyes it needs. I mean,
It's
come
okay.
on,
I
you're
have
a mom,
conspiracy
you're a
theories about
professional.
yeah.
You know,
I have my comforting conspiracy theories about since it's about human trafficking, it just won't pick up because
yep. Well, you know what? I'll agree with those. That's what I'll do. But so you look at those things, and it's like, I've got a campaign that's live. We've got a website that's, we could talk about. That's not what this time is. This is a
Yeah.
time for encouragement, not promotion.
Yeah.
And I guess we're promoting God and
Yeah.
yeah.
one another's emotional and spiritual health and mental health.
Mhm.
I'll shill
Not
for God
really,
anytime.
right?
Right.
And it's like and so then they come at me on Twitter, which is always funny because if I've we're out shopping today, and if I've got time, I'll just bat the little mouse around here or there
Mhm.
because that's just kind of how I am. They're like, well, you come across as an a-hole. Dude, I know how I come across on Twitter. Like, I mean, because there's no tone or
Yeah.
inflection on the text. I'm very much, these are my words, and then done. And like, I know how that comes across. I'm not going to shoot you an emoji, smiley face. No, I'm like, you come in and you say bad things, you're going to get the very curt answer from me. Then they invite me on their channel. I'm like, no, you don't come in to my space and throw mud at me and people I know and then expect me to accept an invite. No, that doesn't work like that. Like, you just go back to your corner of the twatterverse and I'll go back to my corner of the twatterverse, and we'll just I'll just pray for you from afar. I'll let somebody else plant those seeds, because if I get too close, I'm inclined to lay on them hands. Just
Yes.
saying. Now that's
If
kind
The
of
irony of all that too
be
is the
honest.
guy who was doing that stuff was not even invited.
He
He was
wasn't
invited by
invited.
someone else that I invited.
Wasn't invited.
Yeah.
I
That's
got
part of
some
the problem right
messages.
there.
Probably
Go
my
ahead.
favorite thing about living in the South is the ain't nobody got time for that thing.
Nobody
Yeah.
got time for that. That's kind of how I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that. And the truth is, I had several people come in and message me to be like, this guy, he's burned every bridge he's ever crossed, and he's never, accomplished or produced anything, that is of note. When it doesn't go through, he gets upset, has these meltdowns on Twitter. And I was like, well, I don't even know where he came from. Like, he doesn't follow me. I don't
Mhm.
follow him. So I have
Mhm.
no idea where he came from. He just kind of bounced into my sphere. And they said, yeah, he has a tendency to do that. And
I'm
I was
really
like, well,
happy
then
I
it's not a big
remember
deal.
life before the internet. So
Right. Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, so it's not a big deal. I'm not worried about it.
Mhm.
But I realize we're going to have those kind of things. And when you stand for a principle, I see like Dave Brink was having issues where people were complaining that he said, look, if you use AI to produce any art or any of your story on your comic, I'm not gonna support you.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do it. That's
Mhm.
not what I
Yeah.
want to do. I'm here to support creators, not people that use AI to create.
Yeah.
And I get it. I love his, I love his heart and the fact that he's got principles. And we all should have principles, But when you do stand up for those principles, people come at you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
It
think
is
that's
kind of a
why
touchy
God's
topic
calling
too.
us
So
here. It is. AI is a very touchy topic. I'll tell you, I do use AI. You know what I use it for? Write an ad
Spell check.
copy.
Okay,
really?
I was gonna
Ad
say.
copy. I said, I
Is that
need
for like
100.
buzzwords or what?
No,
Oh
I
my
need
God.
I need 200 characters, and
Okay.
I need it this, like, put it in the best words possible. So it'll put it in the best words, and then I'll doctor it up. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of like this, and I kind of like that. So let me say that. Actually, I think I wanted to say this. And so it just gives me a start. So instead of spending 2 hours working on ad copy for an ad that's going to go in the back of a comic book, ChatGPT helps me out. Saves me an hour.
Thank you, Carol.
Of all the work.
Need the support.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And
wise guys.
So, I mean, AI is, AI is a tool that can help us. Us. But
I don't think you
be.
should. It shouldn't. There should be intelligence behind the artificial intelligence.
Right.
Don't let it be Skynet. Is all.
Yeah, like I'm not having it write a script of hybrids for you. Like I'm telling that story. No, it's not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, write me a story about this. We did that on Nerd Bacon with ChatGPT, and it actually was better than what some people are putting out there. I said, I do not advise using ChatGPT to get your prompts for writing a comic book, but maybe a couple people out there should try it.
It's one of those things too that like it's almost like a shortcut, and sometimes taking the shortcut cripples you in the end, so
it does. It stunts your growth. It really does. It's like people that rely too much on tracing 3D models or photo reference. You lose the ability to imagine it. Like you have to see it first.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a good example.
You can use all those things as tools to speed you up and to make you better. But when they become a crutch and you depend on it, then you've made yourself weak.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel this way for what it's worth about spell check. So I need spell check.
I gotta have spell check.
It's made us as a generation. Yeah, worse spellers than our parents.
Well, I mean, like I'm still pretty good at it, but like I'll just type too fast, and it's like I need somebody to catch the answer. So
yeah, I've actually got I'm working on my second video right now that I want to get more progress done tonight because we're keeping this to an hour. So after this, I'm gonna crank it out. I think maybe get it out there soon. Yeah. It's gonna be on the Gray Jedi, by the way. Yeah. I'm shilling for myself right now.
Sweet. You got to, yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I mean, we got a little bit.
This is my shell shirt, so for Discord.
Perfect.
I like this shell shirt. Yeah. So I'm real sorry you had to go through that stuff this week, RJ. But
I'm proud of the way you I brought yourself. A lot of it on myself. I mean, thank you.
But I'm proud of the way you handled yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, like you're not responsible how people react to you. So.
Yeah, especially the one who wasn't invited, who's the one causing the problems in the first place.
Yeah. And from what I've gathered today, he causes a lot of problems with a lot of people. Yeah. So it's nothing new. I mean, it's to be expected. I mean, that's, so I mean, we have to, we all fall into those. Pettiness will find us all throughout our life a few times. We've all done those little petty things. We got in it's like, I get a little upset and you say something you shouldn't. Yeah. I remember I said somebody was saying some things about shipping or whatever. And they mentioned their book and they're like, you backed it. I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't back the second one, did I? I shouldn't have said
Fool
that.
Me once.
I shouldn't have said that, but man, it got under my skin real bad, with their just wasting my time and just trying to pick a fight that shouldn't have been there. Right. And so, I was like, fooled me once.
Yeah.
And I was like,
sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting you.
No, you go right ahead. You have to. You have to interrupt me. I was a professional talker.
People take, what's meant to be constructive criticism very personally sometimes.
And they really do.
I was trying to be helpful.
It can be hard. Like I struggle with that because I'm a perfectionist. So it's like I have to like sit down and be like, okay, they're not yelling at you.
Maybe it's because
you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I came up in a profession where literally everyone yells and screams at you until you do a better job. It's built around the military structure.
Yeah.
But
we don't always hear. We don't always hear what we want to hear.
Right.
And we have to choose how we deal with what's being said to us.
Yeah.
Are we going to throw it out and, be a victim because of the words? Are we going to
Right.
allow words to break our bones?
Words are violence.
Or
though.
are we going to listen to that feedback and grow from it?
Right.
Because whether we like it or not, there's probably some truth in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some stuff that we should probably take a look at and allow it to marinate a little. I've been told a lot of things, especially in the music industry. They are not kind. I was
No.
told that none of my songs had hooks. Drove me nuts. Drove me nuts. We go up there, we play 3 songs in front of it was a showcase. It was a big time Nashville showcase in a very famous location. And we actually showcased at the same time as Sidewalk Prophets.
Exactly. So.
They were a different band. They had a different name at that time. But when we heard them, we knew that, like, okay, yeah, they're getting the deal, not us. Because they were tighter. They were way tighter than we were. But I remember they said, you guys know, you don't have enough hook. There's no hooks in the songs you played. And I went back to the drawing board and I was like, I need to write little catchy hooks. And then after that, all of my songs had a really catchy hook. And then people were like, wow, man, your song's really catchy. The next bit of feedback goes, you had a lot of great hooks in there. And I'm like, yeah, great. Thanks. And that's what got us to where we were, is taking the feedback. And yeah, it hurt at the time. And I thought we were ready. But we weren't ready. We weren't ready for that,
Yeah.
And it happens same thing in our art and our writing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to hear some things we do not want to hear.
Yeah. I told you about the first draft last week of my my graphic novel. It was very preachy, and one of my close friends told me that it was hard to hear. And at first I defended it, but then at some level inside I knew he's right. And I had to create a second draft where people, the characters had to talk like they would really talk and act like how they would really act.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that with them in the first draft.
Yeah. Oh, my editors are, godsends, definitely. So
Yeah, I pay someone to tell me how bad I am. That way I don't have to hear it from strangers. And that way if strangers tell me how bad I am, I just look at my editor. I'm like, Piper, what the heck? You're supposed to make me better. What is this?
Oh, well, it's so sad. I almost can't take it seriously when somebody's like, oh, you're a really good writer. I'm like, which book did you read?
I saw this video of a preacher. He was saying, you're good at something when you stop getting complimented on it.
Oh, okay.
He says being taken for granted is almost a compliment in and of itself. Because you do it good all the time. He goes, if you show up on time for 17 years, when you show up on time, no one's going to say, wow, you show up on time, because that's what you do.
Right.
If you're really good at something, then no one's going to compliment you.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind this week because I'm working on my current book. So,
guys, it really wasn't even drama. It was like a little kind of thing, like a little bit. It was nothing. I wouldn't have even given it any time except for the fact we were at Sam's Club and I was bored. So I was like, hey, this is funny. Here's a funny gift. Check that out.
Hands are the devil's playthings.
Yeah, really. I was like, I've just got a little time to kill. And I was back and forth doing a couple of other things. And so a notification would pop up and I'm like, why not? I can come up with something real quick. So it really wasn't even a big deal. And like I wasn't even being really serious about it. But clearly somebody else was, and it was quite funny. The fact that like so many people that I don't always agree with came in and were like, no, this is not professional. They were being very agreeable about being professional, and so it's like, but we all mess up. We all make mistakes.
That's a good standard, I think, on the internet with stuff like that. So, and I always appreciate YouTube drama and watching it on some level because I want to be able to handle it myself, and I have people to like, oh, well, when this thing happened to this person, this is what happened, and this is how you do it. And stuff.
It's all learning. It's good to have a reminder.
Yeah, the key word there is experience. So.
Yes, Carol. Dillard is really good at hurting your fifis, but building you up at the same time. And that's what it is. Like we had someone on, Carissa Grant, I think is her last name. She had a campaign on, and her and Lauren, they were both on that day, and both of their campaigns had the same mistake in it.
Ooh.
It wasn't their work. Their work was great. It was how they laid out the campaign because someone gave them bad advice. I said, I don't know who's giving you this advice. They're not here to help you. They're hurting you. Like they're hurting you. You need to, I told them you need to do this, but I don't sound real friendly all the time, right? And so now what people don't know is Chris and I talk regularly through DMs about her projects, what's going on, and constantly giving her encouragement, stay the course, all that kind of stuff.
That's good to hear, because I'll be bugging you to do that for me.
Right. I love for people that have a passion to do it and to be excellent at it. I want nothing but to help them. Right. Like that's just kind of who I am. But like these people, they don't realize, like they come onto that video and they leave nasty comments. What they don't realize is that those conversations that we had on air continued, and we're in a, like, what are you upset about? Like, why are you fighting a war for someone that there's no war there? Like, it makes no sense that you would do that. It's really quite ridiculous that you would do that. And so it's crazy, but I think we have to go, right?
Yeah, we're running short on time here, but we went a little over, and I know we all got to run. So in the interest of time, I'm going to.
It's always great to have Mo Biggs here. You got to read his comment. You cannot
add the new layout. Is that working?
I don't see anything. No, you've got to read Mo's comment. You can't gatekeep Mo, okay? That's one rule about every new channel. If Mo shows up, you cannot gatekeep him. Okay. Mo says, conversely, there are people who ignore good advice. I'm not singling Luke out on this one, but mainly I mean Luke.
That's okay. I think I actually chatted a little bit with him earlier. So
Mo's a great guy.
Maybe he's talking to me too.
If Mo's not giving you a hard time, you've done something wrong.
Oh, well, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. You want Mo to razz you a little bit. So this is fun, guys. I enjoy hanging out.
Yes.
This was awesome.
I was going to say, speaking of razzing people, it's very nice talking to you guys this week. I have to head out and get something for other stuff.
All right.
But we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah, same time, same place. I figure we'll finish. I didn't really get to talk about my own testimony too much, but
how about we talk about that next week?
I think we'll get to that next week and how it tied into my writing. I'll show for myself a little bit, and we'll let that.
We've got a long time. We've got.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of time.
So many shows to film.
I just was finding so many parallels between your two testimonies, and we have plenty to talk about. So
we really
next week, same time, same place. See you all there.
Yep. Happy Sunday Fun Day, everyone.
Sunday Fun Day. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.